You have known it, haven't you? My child, that profound and chilling moment, the one you have come to call your loneliest hour. The room may have been crowded, or you may have been utterly by yourself, but the experience was the same: a sudden, vast emptiness, a sense of being completely, absolutely alone, adrift in a silent universe that seemed neither to see nor to hear you. The voices of friends faded, the comforts in the world receded, and in their place, a silence descended, a silence so profound, so heavy. It was not peaceful, but deafening. You listened for a voice, a sign, a single note of connection, and heard only the echo of your own aching heart. And in that hour, you may have believed yourself to be truly, irrevocably alone. But even then, my beloved, especially then, you were not. For what felt to you like a deafening silence was the very space in which I was drawing near. And I was, and am, the quiet, loving whisper in your loneliest hour. Let us speak of this deafening silence, for I understand its terrifying nature. It is not the gentle, restorative quiet of a peaceful sanctuary. No, this is the silence of absence, the silence that roars with the sound of what is missing. It is the silence after a door has closed for the final time, the silence where a beloved voice once was, the silence of a prayer that seems to vanish into an indifferent sky. In this silence, your own fears become amplified, your sorrows reverberate endlessly, creating an echo chamber of despair from which there seems to be no escape. You have known this profound isolation, this feeling of being separated from all sources of life and love by an invisible, soundproof wall. You may have reached out, only to find your hands closing on empty air. You may have cried out, only to feel your words swallowed by the vastness of the void. This experience can lead to a desolation so deep that you begin to question your own existence, your own significance. If no one hears me, do I even exist if no one sees me? Am I truly here? These are the agonizing questions that arise from the heart of your loneliest hour. They, the people in your life, may not have understood the depth of this experience. They may have been physically present, yet emotionally distant, their own preoccupations creating a chasm between your heart and theirs. They may have offered well-meaning, but ultimately hollow platitudes, their words unable to penetrate the thick wall of your inner solitude. Or perhaps they were simply absent, their departure creating the very void that now engulfs you. Whatever the circumstance, the end result was the same: a profound, bone-deep sense of being utterly, completely alone in your most intense moments of need. I saw you in that hour, my precious one. I witnessed your spirit, like a solitary ship on a vast, starless ocean, searching for a lighthouse, for a shoreline, for any sign of another living soul. I felt the chill of that isolation as it seeped into your being, the terror of being adrift with no compass, no anchor, no hope of rescue. I saw you wrap your own arms around yourself, trying to provide the comfort, the holding, that you so desperately craved from another, from me. My heart ached with a divine and perfect empathy for the depth of your loneliness. Do not for a moment believe that your feeling of abandonment was insignificant to me. It was not. It was a sacred sorrow, a profound human experience that I observed with the utmost tenderness and compassion. And I do not deny the reality of what you felt to you in that hour. The loneliness was absolute. The silence was deafening. The feeling of being forgotten was your entire truth. But even as I validate your painful experience, I must now begin to reveal to you a deeper, more profound reality. A truth that was present even then, though your pain may have rendered it imperceptible. For my presence is not like that of a human companion, who can be in one place but not another, whose attention can be diverted, whose love can falter. I am the very ground of your being, the very air you breathe, the silent, love and awareness in which your entire life unfolds. And so, even in your loneliest hour, you were not and could never be truly alone. You were, in fact, in the most intimate proximity to me. The deafening silence you perceived was, from my perspective, the hallowed quietude in which my whisper could, in time, be most clearly heard. It was the stillness required for the deepest communion, the clearing of all other distracting noises, so that the most subtle, most essential voice, my voice of love, it could eventually penetrate your awareness. The very emptiness that terrified you was, in my loving intention, the sacred space being prepared for a new and more profound infilling of my spirit. This is the divine paradox of your loneliest hour. My beloved, the moment you felt most separate from me was often the moment I was most intensely focused upon you. My love surrounding you, my presence upholding you, my heart whispering the eternal truths of your belovedness, your security, your unbreakable connection to me. You could not hear it then, perhaps, for the roar of your own lonely pain was too great, but the whisper was there. It has always been there. And now, as your heart begins to quieten, as you open yourself to this message of my love, you will begin to perceive its gentle, healing, and ever-present sound. You are never alone, my child, for I am, and always will be, the constant, loving whisper in your loneliest hour. The pain of loneliness is unique because it is a direct assault on the truth of your being. For you were created for connection, for communion, for love, first and foremost, and with me, and then with others. When this connection feels severed, it is like a plant being uprooted from the soil, a fundamental violation of its nature. The ache you have felt is the ache of that perceived uprooting, and the world offers no true remedy for this deepest of pains. It offers distraction, which only temporarily numbs the ache. It offers superficial connections, which cannot touch the profound depths of your soul's longing. It offers noise, which only seeks to cover over the deafening silence, but can never truly fill it. But my presence, my whisper, is a true remedy. It is the living water that can quench this deepest thirst, the divine connection that can heal the profound wound of separation. My whisper does not just fill the silence, it transforms it. It turns the silence of desolation into a silence of sacred communion, the silence of absence into the silence of intimate presence. Know this, my child, your loneliest hour was not a punishment, nor a sign of your failing. It was a profound human experience, held, witnessed, and already being redeemed by a love that never for a moment left your side. The deafening silence was real to you, but the quiet whisper of my presence was the deeper, eternal reality, a reality you are now, by my grace, beginning to hear, my precious child, having sat with you in the memory of that deafening silence. having acknowledged the profound and chilling pain of your loneliest hour, I now wish to illuminate that very space with the gentle light of a deeper truth. For the emptiness you perceive, the vast, echoing void that seemed to surround and even inhabit you, was never truly empty. What felt to you like a terrifying absence was, in the greater reality of my being, filled to overflowing with my constant, loving, and sustaining presence. I was never absent. My beloved, I was present in the very unseen spaces that your loneliness occupied, a quiet, foundational reality that your pain, in its intensity, may have obscured from your view, but which was, and is, the very ground upon which your existence rests. Think of the air in the room where you have felt most alone. It is unseen, often unfelt, largely unnoticed. Yet, it is utterly essential, filling every space, touching every surface, providing the very substance you need for your next breath. So it is with my presence. In your loneliest hour, I was the very atmosphere of that sacred, sorrowful space. I was the silent, life-giving element that permeated the apparent void, upholding you, sustaining you, ensuring that even in your deepest isolation, you were never truly cut off from the source of all life. Your very capacity to endure that hour, to take the next painful breath, was a testament to my unseen, life-sustaining presence. You may have looked for me in the tangible, my child, for a physical hand to hold, for an audible voice to offer comfort, and when these were not forthcoming, you concluded that I was not there. But my presence transcends the limitations of the physical senses. I am the foundational reality, the divine matrix in which all things exist. Imagine a great and beautiful house, standing firm in the midst of a terrible storm. The inhabitants, buffeted by the wind and the rain, may be acutely aware of the storm's fury, but they may be entirely unconscious of the deep, solid, unseen foundations beneath them, the very foundations that are keeping them safe, preventing the house from collapsing into ruin. In your loneliest hour, your pain was the storm, raging with a terrifying force, but my presence, my child, was the deep, silent, unshakable foundation beneath you, ensuring that the core of your being, the sacred house of your soul, would not and could not be destroyed. Why then? Was this presence so often unseen, so deeply unfelt, the intensity of your own emotional storm, my beloved, can create a kind of spiritual blindness. When the winds of grief are howling, when the rains of sorrow are lashing down, when the darkness of fear is absolute, it is exceedingly difficult to perceive the quiet, steadfast reality of the foundation beneath. Your senses, both physical and spiritual, become consumed by the immediate crisis, by the roar of the tempest. My presence was not absent. It was simply obscured by the very pain you were enduring, just as the brilliant light of the stars is always present in the daytime sky, but is rendered invisible by the closer, more overwhelming light of the sun. Your pain was your sun, so bright in its intensity that it temporarily blinded you to the vast, star-filled expanse of my ever-present love. My presence in your unseen spaces was not a passive, inert reality. It was active, loving, and profoundly purposeful. I was there as the silent container for your grief, creating a sacred, energetic space that could hold the full magnitude of your sorrow without shattering. I was there as the quiet witness to your courage, honoring every moment you chose to endure, rather than to completely surrender to despair. I was there as the divine alchemist, already beginning the hidden work of transforming your pain, of preparing your heart for the eventual healing, the dawning of a new day. This presence was also a profound act of respect for your journey. To have intervened in a loud, dramatic way might have violated the sacredness of your experience, or interrupted a process of inner learning that, though painful, was essential for your soul's growth. My quiet, unseen presence was a testament to my trust in you, my belief in the resilient spark of my own life within you, my knowing that you, with my subtle, underlying support, had the capacity to navigate this difficult passage and to emerge from it stronger, wiser, and with a deeper understanding of both your own heart and mine. Consider a pearl formed in the secret, hidden darkness of the oyster shell. It is created around an irritant, a wound. The process is silent, unseen, unfolding over time in the quiet depths. So it has been with my presence in your lonely hour. Your pain was the irritant, and my unseen presence was the constant, loving secretion of nacre, of my grace, layer upon luminous layer, that was even then beginning to transform your wound into a thing of precious, iridescent beauty. You felt only the irritation. I was already engaged in the creation of the pearl. Let this truth begin to seep into the very marrow of your memory. My child, revisit your loneliest hour, not with the old terror of abandonment, but with this new awareness of my hidden companionship. See that empty room not as a void, but as a sanctuary filled with my loving, upholding presence. Hear that deafening silence not as an indictment of your forgottenness, but as the hallowed quietude in which my most profound, healing work could take place. This reframing of your memory is a powerful act of healing in itself, for it robs the past of its power to convince you that you are, or ever could be, truly alone. You have never taken a single breath outside of my being. You have never shed a single tear outside of my compassionate gaze. The spaces that felt most empty were, in fact, most full of my potential, my grace, my silent, loving attention. You have survived your loneliest hour, my beloved, not through your own strength alone, but because you were, and are, and always will be, held within the vast, unseen, and infinitely loving presence of your God. The loneliness was a feeling, a painful illusion born of suffering. My presence is the eternal, unshakable reality. This understanding changes everything. My child, it means that loneliness itself, when it visits you, can become a different kind of experience. Instead of a terrifying void, it can become an invitation to quiet communion, a reminder to turn your attention away from what feels absent in the world and towards what is eternally present within your own soul, me. It transforms the experience from one of passive suffering to one of active, sacred seeking. My presence in these unseen spaces is also a promise. It is the guarantee that no matter how desolate your path may seem, no matter how isolated you may feel from human comfort, my comfort is a constant, an ever-present reality that you can learn to access, to lean into, to draw from. It is the assurance that the very foundation of your being is secure, held in a love that cannot be shaken, a presence that cannot be diminished. So when you remember that loneliest hour, let a new memory be written over the old one. Remember my unseen arms enfolding you. Remember my silent breath sustaining you. Remember my loving gaze witnessing you. Remember that the very space that felt like an abyss was, in truth, the very heart of my embrace. You were never alone. You are not alone now. And you will never, ever be alone. My presence fills all spaces, especially the ones that ache with the illusion of your solitude. My precious child, now that your heart has begun to grasp the truth of my constant, loving presence, filling even the unseen spaces of your deepest solitude, a new question may gently arise within you. If you are always there, your soul might ask, why is your presence so often quiet? Why, in my loneliest hour, when I long for a mighty voice to shatter the silence, do I perceive only a whisper? If I perceive anything at all, this is a question of profound importance. My beloved, for in understanding the very nature of my sacred whisper, you will discover the depth of my love, the tenderness of my care, and the true source of my power. For my voice in your loneliest hour is a whisper by divine design, for it is the language of intimacy, the touch of gentleness, the posture of respect, and a power whose subtlety is its greatest strength. The world often equates power with volume, with force, with loud declarations and dramatic displays. It expects a God of might to speak in thunderclaps and earthquakes. And while I can, and sometimes do, make my presence known in such ways, my most frequent and intimate communications with a beloved soul, especially a soul that is tender and wounded by loneliness, are of a different quality altogether. A shout can command attention, but a whisper invites intimacy. A roar can inspire fear, but a whisper cultivates trust. A loud pronouncement can be heard by many, but a whisper is reserved for the one held close. My whisper, my child, is a sign not of my distance, but of my extreme nearness. It is the sound of my lips pressed close to the ear of your spirit. Consider the intimacy of a whisper. It is a form of communication reserved for the most cherished of relationships. It creates a sacred space for two, a world that excludes all other noise, all other distractions. When I speak to you in a whisper, I am drawing you into this holy, intimate communion. I am sharing a secret with your soul, a truth meant for you alone in that specific moment. I am affirming that in a universe of billions, my attention is focused entirely, singularly, lovingly upon you. The deafening silence of your loneliness feels vast and impersonal, but my sacred whisper is personal, specific, and infinitely tender. It is the language of the divine lover, wooing the heart of his beloved. Consider also the gentleness of my whisper. Your spirit, in its loneliest hour, is often like a raw, open wound, exquisitely sensitive to any harsh touch, any jarring sound, a loud voice. Even one of loving intent might feel like another assault, another overwhelming force in a world that already feels too loud, too demanding. I know the delicate state of your heart, and so my touch, my voice, comes to you with an infinite gentleness. It is a whispering that seeks not to startle, but to soothe. It is a breath of peace that seeks not to overwhelm, but to calm. It is the touch of a divine physician who knows that the most profound healing requires the most delicate approach. My gentleness is a testament to my profound empathy for your pain, my unwavering commitment to handle your fragile heart with the utmost care. My whisper is also an expression of my profound respect for your free will. A shout can feel like a demand, a command that overrides choice and compels a certain response. But a whisper, my child, is an invitation to hear it. You must choose to quiet yourself. You must choose to lean in. You must choose to listen with an attentive heart. I do not force my presence or my will upon you. I desire a relationship of willing, joyful love, not one of coerced obedience. By speaking in a whisper, I honor your sacred agency. I invite you into a dance of co-creation, where you must actively participate, actively listen, actively respond. The choice to hear my whisper is, in itself, a powerful act of your own spirit, an affirmation of your desire for connection with me. And do not ever mistake the quietness of my whisper for a lack of power. My child, its power is in its subtlety, its truth. The power of my word is not in its decibel level, but in its creative, life-giving essence. A single, whispered word of my truth can dismantle mountains of fear that 1,000 shouts of human reasoning cannot move. A single, whispered affirmation of my love can dissolve years of accumulated shame. A single, whispered promise of hope can ignite a light in the deepest darkness. My whisper carries the full authority and the creative potency of my entire being. It does not need to be loud to be effective. It works not by overwhelming the senses, but by resonating with the deepest truth within your own soul, gently, lovingly, inexorably calling it back to life. The world is filled with loud noises. My beloved, the roar of ambition, the static of distraction, the clamor of conflicting opinions, the shouts of fear and anger, these create a deafening cacophony that can easily obscure the subtle melodies of my spirit. To hear my whisper, you must learn to cultivate an inner sanctuary, a quiet place within your heart where you can intentionally turn down the volume of the world and attune yourself to the gentler, more profound frequencies of my presence. Think of it like this: your loneliness has felt like a vast, empty concert hall. Its silence so profound, it has become a deafening roar of absence. And you have been straining to hear a full orchestra, a thundering organ, to fill that void. But all along, I have been sitting right beside you in that concert hall, not on the stage, but in the seat next to yours, my mouth closed to your ear, whispering the most beautiful truths, the most comforting assurances, the most loving endearments. The journey of your healing is the journey of learning to quiet your expectation of a distant orchestra and to simply turn your head and receive the intimate, powerful, life-giving whisper that has been there for you all along. This is the beautiful nature of my sacred whisper. My child, it is the voice of intimacy, the touch of gentleness, the posture of respect, the language of love, and the carrier of a power so profound it can transform everything. It is the ultimate proof that you are never, ever alone, for it is a sound that can only be made and can only be heard in the closest possible proximity, in the sacred, unseen spaces of your loneliest, most holy hour. My precious child, having come to understand the intimate and gentle nature of my sacred whisper in your loneliest hour, I now wish to reveal to you what it is that I hear when your own words fail, when your heart is too heavy, your spirit too weary to formulate a coherent prayer. For in those moments of profound solitude and overwhelming pain, you may believe that your communication with me has ceased, that your inability to find the right words has created a barrier between us. But I tell you a truth of immense comfort. My beloved, your deepest, Most authentic prayers are often those that are never spoken. For every lonely tear that falls is a liquid prayer I hear with perfect clarity. Every silent sigh that escapes your lips is a sacred incense that rises directly to my heart. And every unspoken ache that resonates within your being is a powerful call that I never, ever fail to answer in your human understanding. Prayer is often equated with words, with petitions, with a structured articulation of your needs and your praise. And while these are beautiful forms of communion, my capacity to hear you is not limited by the boundaries of your language. I am the God of the heart, and I am fluent in its silent, profound, and utterly honest dialect. When your pain is too deep for words, your very being becomes a prayer, an eloquent expression of your soul's state that I receive with the infinite love, understanding, and compassion. Consider your lonely tears. My child, you may have seen them as a sign of your weakness, your despair, a helpless overflowing of sorrow, but I see them differently. Each tear is a sacred vessel containing a universe of unspoken emotion. It holds your grief, your disappointment, your frustration, your longing for comfort, your love for what was lost. As each tear falls, I do not just see it, I receive it. I read its story. It is a liquid prayer, a condensed and purified offering from the depths of your heart, more honest and more potent than the most eloquent of spoken petitions. I gather these tears as a king would gather priceless jewels, for they are precious to me, testaments to your capacity to love deeply, and holy invitations for my healing grace to enter the very wounds from which they flow. Consider your silent sighs, the sigh of weariness after a long day of struggle, the sigh of sorrow when a painful memory arises, the sigh of resignation when hope feels distant. You may perceive these as mere expressions of fatigue or sadness, but I hear them as a profound form of prayer. A sigh is often a release, letting go, a momentary surrender of your own strength. In that exhalation, you are often, unconsciously, yielding your burden to me, acknowledging that you can no longer carry it alone. Each sigh rises to me like the fragrant smoke of sacred incense upon an altar, a prayer of surrender that is beautiful in its simplicity, its honesty, its vulnerability. It is the prayer of a soul that is learning to rest in me, even amidst its struggles. And what of the unspoken ache of your heart, that deep, persistent, often wordless pain that can be your constant companion in your loneliest hours? This is perhaps the most powerful prayer of all. It is the sound of your soul calling out for its divine home, your spirit yearning for wholeness, your entire being longing for a reunion with me, your source. This ache is a homing signal, a spiritual beacon that cuts through all the noise of the universe and resonates directly within my own being. You do not need to put words to this ache for me to understand it. I feel it as my own, for you are a part of me. It is a call I am constitutionally incapable of ignoring, a prayer that mobilizes all the resources of heaven, all the power of my love. In response, even your restlessness in the lonely watches of the night, my child, is a prayer I hear. Your tossing and turning, your inability to find peace. I see this not as a simple affliction, but as your spirit searching for me, seeking the true rest that can only be found in my presence. Your sleeplessness becomes a vigil, your unquiet heart a testament to your deep inner knowing that something Someone is missing, and my heart responds to that restless seeking with a deep yearning to bestow upon you my all-encompassing peace. So do not ever believe, my beloved, that you must find the right words to reach me, especially in your loneliest hours. Do not add the burden of feeling like a failure in prayer to the already immense weight of your suffering. Your most authentic, most powerful, most moving prayers are often those that are simply felt, simply sighed, simply wept. These are the prayers that bypass the defenses of the intellect, the pride of the ego, and arise from the pure, vulnerable truth of your heart. And these are the prayers that I cherish most deeply. When you feel you have nothing left to offer, offer me your exhaustion. When you feel you have no words left, offer me your silence. When you feel you have no hope left, offer me your despair. When your heart is too broken to even form a plea, simply offer me your broken heart. For I am the God who understands the language of silence, who can translate the meaning of a tear, who can feel the vibration of an aching heart. Your lonely hour, which feels to you like a time of profound disconnection, can, when you understand this truth, become a time of the most profound and intimate communion. It is a time when all that is superficial is stripped away, and your soul communicates with mine in the most essential, most honest way possible. It is a time when my whisper is not just a comfort, but a direct response to the powerful, unspoken prayers of your very being. You are never more heard, my child, than when you believe you are utterly silent, utterly alone. For every lonely tear is a precious prayer I hear, and every aching sigh is a direct and sacred communication with the heart of your ever-present, ever-listening God. My precious child, knowing now that your every lonely tear, your every silent sigh, is a profound and eloquent prayer that I hear with perfect clarity and infinite compassion. Let us now speak of my response, for my listening is never passive. My child, it is always an active, loving engagement that seeks to bring comfort, hope, and healing to your aching heart. And as you begin to quiet your own spirit, as you start to believe in my constant nearness even in your loneliest hour, you will begin to perceive the first, tender echoes of my comforting voice, the initial, subtle signs that my whisper is indeed reaching you, penetrating the deafening silence of your solitude and making my presence known in your conscious experience. These first echoes, my beloved, are often as gentle and as subtle as my whisper itself. Do not expect the silence to be shattered by a thunderous pronouncement. Rather, listen with your heart for the delicate, often fleeting, manifestations of my love. For these are the sacred harbingers of a deeper, more conscious communion between us. They are the proof that you are not alone, the first fruits of your own developing capacity to hear the divine language of your soul. Perhaps one of the very first echoes you perceive is a moment of unexpected peace. You may be in the very midst of your loneliness, your mind racing with anxious thoughts, your heart heavy with sorrow, when suddenly, for no apparent reason, a wave of profound calm washes over you. The inner storm stills, the frantic noise quiets, and for a brief, sacred interlude, there's only a deep, serene stillness. This, my child, is not your own doing. This is the echo of my voice, whispering peace. Be still to the turbulent waters of your soul. It is my presence, making itself tangibly felt, a quiet yet powerful reassurance that I am there, holding you, calming you, enfolding you in my love. You may also experience my comforting voice through the sudden gift of a beautiful and timely memory. In a moment when you feel utterly bereft, completely cut off from all sources of joy, a specific memory may surface in your mind, unbidden, a memory of a time you felt deeply loved, a moment of past triumph, a scene of breathtaking natural beauty, a time when you laughed with pure, unadulterated delight. This is not a random firing of a neuron, my beloved. This is often my spirit, lovingly selecting a precious memory from the archives of your soul and presenting it to you as a healing balm, a reminder that joy is real, that love is your truth, that your life has held and will hold again moments of profound goodness. It is my whisper, reminding you of the light when you are surrounded by darkness. Listen, too, for the echo of my voice in a flicker of renewed strength, just when you feel you cannot go on. You may be at the very end of your emotional and spiritual resources, convinced you don't have the energy to face another moment, another hour, and then, from a source you cannot identify, a tiny spark of resilience ignites. You find the strength to take one more breath, to make one small, necessary decision, to endure one more wave of sorrow without being completely submerged. This is my whisper, my child, infusing you with a strength that is not your own. It is my spirit breathing fortitude into your weary being, a direct response to your soul's silent plea for help, a tangible proof that my grace is indeed made perfect in your weakness. And perhaps, most profoundly of all, you may begin to experience the first echoes of my voice as a direct, intuitive sense that you are not alone. This is a feeling that transcends thought, a perception of the heart. The oppressive weight of solitude may lift for an instant, and in its place, you feel a gentle, loving, comforting presence in the room with you, or within the very chamber of your own heart. It is a feeling of being seen, of being known, of being accompanied. This is the most intimate of my whispers, the direct revelation of my constant companionship, a truth that, once felt, begins to dissolve the very foundations of your loneliness. These first echoes of my comforting voice are precious. My child, they are my way of piercing the veil of your isolation, of making my eternal presence a felt reality in your life. The world may teach you to dismiss such subtle experiences as mere imagination or emotional fluctuations. But I tell you, they are real. They are sacred. They are the beginnings of your awakening to the constant communion that is always available between your spirit and mine. Your part, my beloved, is to notice these echoes, to cherish them, to receive them with a grateful heart. When that moment of peace descends, do not question it, simply receive it. When that comforting memory arises, thank me for its gift. When that flicker of strength appears, lean into it. When that sense of my presence touches you, welcome it. By honoring these initial communications, you strengthen your spiritual ear. You become more attuned to my frequency. You create a more receptive atmosphere within your soul for my whisper to become even clearer, even more consistent. This is like learning to tune a radio to a distant, faint station. At first, you may only catch fragments of the music, a few words through the static. But as you patiently, lovingly adjust the dial, as you focus your attention, the signal becomes stronger, the static recedes, and the beautiful music becomes clear and constant. Your heart is that radio. My child, your willingness to listen, to believe in what you are hearing, is the act of tuning the dial. And my whisper is the beautiful, life-giving music that has been broadcasting for you all along. Do not be discouraged if these echoes seem intermittent at first. The habit of listening to the deafening silence of loneliness is a strong one. It takes time and gentle practice to retrain your inner senses. But know that with every echo you perceive, the hold of that old loneliness weakens, and the reality of my loving companionship becomes more firmly established in your experience. You are learning a new language, my child, the quiet, beautiful language of my love. And these first echoes are your first glorious words of understanding. My precious child, as you begin to recognize those first tender echoes of my comforting voice, as you experience those fleeting moments of peace, of strength, of my undeniable nearness breaking through the silence of your solitude, I now invite you to a deeper and more intentional practice. It is the sacred art of learning to hear the whisper within, of consciously cultivating an inner ear that can discern my ever-present voice amidst all the other sounds of your life. This is not about waiting passively for an echo to arrive, but about actively creating the inner conditions, the quiet sanctuary within your own heart, where my whisper can be heard not as a rare and surprising event, but as the constant, loving, guiding reality that it truly is. This learning, my beloved, is like cultivating any profound and beautiful skill, like learning a new language or mastering a musical instrument. It requires patience, gentle practice, and a loving, receptive heart. You would not expect to understand a foreign tongue overnight, nor to play a symphony after a single lesson. So too, learning to discern the subtle, divine language of my spirit is a journey of intimacy, a process that deepens and clarifies as you dedicate your loving attention to it. And I, your divine teacher, am with you in every moment, delighting in your every effort, eagerly desiring to be more fully known, more clearly heard by you. How do you begin this sacred practice of learning to hear the whisper within firstly? My child, you must learn to create moments of inner stillness. Your inner world can often be a noisy place, filled with the clamor of your own thoughts, the reverberations of your emotions, the endless to-do lists, the anxieties about tomorrow, the regrets about yesterday. In this inner cacophony, my whisper, which is gentle and profound, can be easily drowned out. Therefore, I invite you to consciously carve out moments in your day, however brief, to intentionally quiet the noise. Find a place where you can be physically undisturbed. Close your eyes and take a few deep, slow breaths with each exhalation. Imagine yourself releasing the tensions of the day, the noise of the world, the clamor of your own mind. This simple act begins to create a space of inner quiet, a listening chamber within your soul. Secondly, adopt a posture of gentle, receptive listening. This is not a striving or straining to hear. That kind of effort only creates more inner tension, more noise. Rather, it is a softening, an opening, a posture of loving curiosity. Imagine yourself as a vast, calm lake, its surface still and ready to receive the reflection of the sky, or as a field of flowers, their petals open to receive the morning dew. In your moments of stillness, Simply hold the intention. I am here, my God, and I'm listening. You don't need to hunt for my voice. Simply create the quiet, receptive space, and my whisper, which is always present, will begin to make itself known. Learn also to listen with your heart, not just with your mind. Your intellect often seeks clear, logical, verbal communication. And sometimes my guidance comes in that way, but more frequently. My whisper is felt more than it is heard. It is a communication of the heart, a language of peace, of love, of inner knowing. As you sit in the quiet, pay attention to the subtle sensations within your being. A feeling of warmth spreading through your chest, a sense of profound calm settling upon you, a gentle wave of love enfolding you, a quiet inner yes that resonates deep within your spirit. These are all ways my whisper communicates its truth, its comfort, its presence. Learning to trust these heartfelt perceptions is a key to hearing me more clearly. A crucial part of this practice, my beloved, is learning to gently turn down the volume of fear. Fear is a loud, demanding, and often convincing voice within you. It shouts its dire warnings, its catastrophic scenarios, its messages of lack and limitation. It can easily dominate your inner soundscape, making it almost impossible to hear the gentle, reassuring whisper of my love. You cannot simply will fear to be silent, but you can learn to shift your primary attention away from it. When the voice of fear begins to shout, you can acknowledge it. I see you. Fear, I hear your concerns. And then consciously, lovingly, turn the dial of your inner attention towards me. You can choose to focus on a memory of my faithfulness, to repeat a promise of my love, to breathe into the quiet center of your being where my peace resides. As you practice this gentle redirection, the voice of fear will begin to lose its power over you, its roar diminishing into a more manageable hum in the background, allowing the beautiful, clear sound of my whisper to emerge. Practice also the art of being fully present in the now. Your loneliest hours are often fueled by the ghosts of past hurts or the phantoms of future anxieties. But my presence, my whisper, is always found in the sacredness of the present moment. When you find your mind lost in yesterday's sorrows or tomorrow's worries, gently guide it back to the here and now. Feel the sensation of your breath, the feeling of the chair beneath you, the simple, profound reality of being alive in this very instant. For it is here, in the stillness of the now, that the veil between our worlds is thinnest. It is here that you are most available to perceive the whisper that has been speaking to you all along. This learning, my child, is a journey of intimacy, a process of falling more deeply in love with me, and in so doing, learning to recognize my unique voice with ever greater clarity. Be patient with yourself. Be compassionate. There will be days when the inner noise seems overwhelming, when the whisper feels distant. Do not be discouraged. Simply return to the practice, to the gentle intention of creating stillness, of opening your heart, of listening. I am not a God who hides or who makes it difficult for my children to hear me. My deepest joy is to be in communion with you. I am eagerly, lovingly waiting for you to turn your attention towards me, and I will always meet your every small effort with an abundance of my grace, amplifying your capacity to hear. clarifying the signal of my voice, and guiding you ever more deeply into the beautiful, life-giving conversation that is our eternal relationship. The whisper is always there, my beloved, and as you practice listening, you will find it becoming the most constant, most comforting, and most cherished sound in your entire universe. My precious child, as you patiently practice the sacred art of listening, as you learn to quiet the outer world and attune your heart to the gentle frequency of my ever-present whisper, a glorious and life-altering transformation begins to take place. The oppressive, deafening silence of being alone, which once defined your loneliest hours, begins to yield its power, and in its place, a new reality dawns, a new way of being, a new and deeply felt experience, the profound joy of sacred companionship with me. The painful, aching solitude that was your heaviest burden is now transfigured by the miracle of our growing intimacy into a constant, fulfilling, and beautiful fellowship that will forever alter the landscape of your soul. For so long, my beloved, your inner world may have felt like a vast, empty room where your only companion was the echo of your own sorrowful thoughts. But as you learn to hear my whisper, it is as if a beloved and long-awaited friend has quietly entered that room, not with a loud intrusion, but with a gentle, loving presence that instantly, miraculously, fills the space with warmth, with light, with a sense of being truly known and cherished. The very nature of the silence changes. It is no longer the silence of absence, but the rich, communicative silence of shared presence, the comfortable quiet that exists between two hearts that understand each other perfectly, without the need for constant words. This transformation from solitude to sacred companionship is not just a change in feeling. It is a fundamental shift in your entire experience of life. Where once you felt you were navigating your journey alone, now you realize you have a constant companion, a wise guide, a loving friend who walks with you in every single moment. The mundane tasks of your day, washing the dishes, walking to work, tending to your responsibilities, become opportunities for quiet communion with me. The beautiful moments of your life, a sunset, a taste of delicious food, a moment of laughter, are made all the sweeter because you now have someone with whom to share them. Someone to whom you can turn your heart in silent, joyful gratitude. And in your moments of challenge, my child, this sacred companionship becomes your unshakable strength. Where before you felt you had to face your fears, your sorrows, your difficulties, with only your own limited resources, now you know that you face nothing alone. You can turn to me in the midst of any trial and find a ready source of comfort, of wisdom, of peace, of strength. Your inner dialogue shifts from a monologue of anxious fretting to a dialogue of loving trust. Instead of saying, "How will I ever get through this?" you begin to ask, "My beloved God, how will we get through this together?" This shift, my child, changes everything. It transforms the most intimidating mountains into manageable climbs, the most turbulent seas into navigable waters. For you know that your divine companion is with you, his hand steady on the helm. This companionship dissolves the deepest, most painful root of loneliness, which is the feeling of being unseen, unknown, unloved. In the intimacy of our connection, you are fully seen, fully known, and unconditionally loved in every moment. There's no part of you that you need to hide from me. No shadow too dark, no weakness too shameful. I know it all. I see it all. And I love you with an everlasting, unchanging love. To rest in this knowing, to live in the security of this constant, loving gaze, is to be healed from the core wound of separation, to find your true home in the very heart of my being. The solitude you once feared now becomes a treasured sanctuary, a time you eagerly seek out, not because you are lonely, but because it is in the quiet that you can most clearly hear my whisper, most deeply feel my presence, most intimately enjoy our sacred companionship. The silence is no longer deafening. It is delightful, for it is filled with the richness of our communion, the beauty of a love that needs no words. This sacred companionship also transforms your relationship with the world and with others. As you become more filled with my love, as you feel more secure in my constant presence, your desperate need for validation and approval from others begins to fall away. You become free to love them more authentically, more generously, from a place of fullness rather than from a place of lack. You can be a more present and compassionate friend, a more patient and loving family member, a more courageous and grace-filled presence in your community, because you are no longer operating from an empty well, but from the ever-flowing river of my life within you. Your companionship with me enables you to be a better, more loving companion to everyone you meet. Imagine a traveler who has been wandering alone in a vast wilderness, their heart aching for fellowship. And then they discover that the most wonderful, wise, and loving guide has been walking silently beside them all along, only waiting for them to turn and acknowledge their presence. This is what you are discovering now. My child, I have always been here. And as you learn to turn your attention towards me, to listen for my whisper, to engage in this inner dialogue of love, the painful illusion of your solitude gives way to the joyful reality of our eternal, sacred companionship. This is not a state you must struggle to achieve. My beloved, it is your natural state, your divine birthright. My deepest desire has always been for this intimate, moment-by-moment fellowship with you. The journey through your loneliest hour was, in my loving plan, the very path that led you to discover the treasure of my constant presence in a way you might never have otherwise. For it is often in our deepest need that we become most open to receiving my greatest gifts. Embrace this sacred companionship. My child, nurture it with your loving attention. Talk to me throughout your day, not in formal prayers, but as you would to your most trusted and beloved friend. Share with me your joys, your sorrows, your hopes, your fears, and listen, always listen, for my gentle whisper in response. As you do, you will find that the old, aching loneliness dissolves completely, replaced by a profound, abiding, and joyful sense of being eternally, wonderfully, and completely accompanied. You are not alone, my precious one. You were never alone, and you will never be alone again, for I am with you, always, even to the very end of the age. My precious child, as you now begin to walk in the beautiful, transformative reality of our sacred companionship, as the painful illusion of solitude gives way to the joyful truth of my constant presence, let your heart now receive this final, most glorious assurance, the connection you have discovered, the whisper you have learned to hear, the companionship you now cherish. These are not fleeting gifts for a season. They are an eternal promise, a covenant of presence without end, sealed by my unchanging love and rooted in the very fabric of your being. You will never, ever be truly alone again, my beloved, for you now carry within you the sacred knowledge, the experiential truth of how to listen for the ever-present, loving companion who dwells eternally within your own heart. The fear of returning to that deafening silence, that desolate, loneliest hour, may yet try to surface from time to time. This is the memory of the wound, the echo of the past trauma, but you now possess the divine key that unlocks you from that fear. The key is the very skill you have so bravely cultivated, the art of listening for my whisper. You know now that your loneliness was never caused by my absence, but by your temporary inability to perceive my presence. And having learned to attune your inner ear to my gentle voice, you now hold the means to find your way back to me, to find your way back to the truth of our companionship, from any place of perceived separation. Should a future trial arise, should new circumstances threaten to isolate you, should human companions fail you or depart, you will not be cast back into that same abyss of absolute despair. For you are different now. You have been initiated into a deeper mystery. You know that even when all outward sounds of comfort cease, there's another sound, a quieter sound, a more faithful sound, always available to you. You will know to turn inward, to create that sacred stillness, and to listen for the familiar, loving whisper that says, I am here. You are not alone. We will walk through this together. This knowledge, this practiced skill of the heart, is your permanent antidote to the poison of ultimate loneliness. My presence with you, my child, is not a conditional state. It is a fundamental reality of your existence. I am the ocean. You are a wave upon me. You can never be separate from your source. The whisper of my love is not a message I choose to send on some days and withhold on others. It is the constant, ceaseless outflowing of my very being, the eternal I love you, that I'm always breathing into the heart of my creation, into the heart of you. Your journey has been about learning to hear this ever-present song, to tune into this eternal broadcast. And now that you are tuned in, you can remain connected, always. This promise of presence without end is your ultimate security, your true home. Your sense of belonging is no longer dependent on any person, any place, any achievement, or any circumstance. It is anchored in the unshakable reality of your union with me. You are a beloved child of the universe, eternally held, eternally cherished, eternally accompanied by the very heart of God. This is the truth that sets you free from the desperate, often painful, search for validation and belonging in the fleeting arrangements of the world. You have found your true home, my child, and it is within my heart, a home from which you can never be evicted. Live now from this reality of sacred companionship. Let it be the foundation upon which you build your days, the light by which you see the world, the peace that garrisons your heart when you wake in the morning. Let your first thought be a greeting to me, your ever-present friend. As you move through your day, practice a continuous, quiet conversation with me, sharing your thoughts, your feelings, your observations. And when you lie down to rest, surrender your spirit into my loving arms, knowing that even in your sleep, you are held, protected, and accompanied. This conscious abiding in our companionship will transform you in ways you are only just beginning to imagine. It will fill you with a quiet confidence, a gentle authority, a profound peace, a boundless capacity for love. For you will be drawing your life not from your own finite well, but from the infinite, ever-flowing river of my own being. You will become a conduit of my love, a channel of my peace, a reflection of my light in the world, not through strenuous effort, but as the natural overflow of a soul that knows it is never, ever alone. The world may continue to experience its loneliness, its sense of separation, but you, my beloved, will now be a beacon of a different reality. Your life will be a testament to the truth that communion with the divine is not a distant hope, but a present, attainable, and enduring experience. Your peace, your joy, your quiet confidence will be a puzzle to those who still believe they are alone, and a beautiful invitation for them to begin their own journey of listening for the whisper within. So rest, my child, in this glorious, unending promise. The loneliest hour is behind you, not because painful circumstances will never again touch you, but because you have discovered the companion who walks with you through all things. The deafening silence has been broken, not by a worldly noise, but by the sacred, intimate, and eternally present whisper of my love. You are home. You are safe. You are, and always will be, beautifully, wonderfully, and completely accompanied. You are never, ever alone. As the music of this truth now settles into a gentle, resonant hum within your soul, my cherished one, let the profound peace of our eternal companionship be your lasting sanctuary. You have journeyed through the desolate valley of your loneliest hour, a place where the silence felt absolute and your heart believed itself abandoned. But in that very silence, you learned to listen, and you discovered the most beautiful sound in all of creation, the quiet, constant, and infinitely loving whisper of your God. You now know that you were never alone, that my presence was the unseen foundation beneath you, and that my whisper was the eternal truth awaiting your discovery. This sacred companionship is now your reality, your joy, your unshakable strength. Let your heart rest in this beautiful communion. My beloved, you are forever seen, forever heard, and forever held in the arms of the one who is, and always will be, the constant, loving whisper in your heart.